Alright guys, how you doing? It's Rabea. Hope you're all well. So a bit of a different video for you guys today. This is going to be pretty interesting for all those fans of stoner rock, doom, anything that's just like tons of gain, like fuzz into a high gain amplifier. A lot of the things I quite like to do in Tosca as well. So this is very applicable to me as well. I just think this is going to be a pretty cool video. So noise gates. I'm not really a user of noise gates as such. I've never really found them to be useful for me in my rig. Obviously when mixing, noise gates are super handy on drums and all sorts of other stuff like that. Basically designed to get rid of unwanted sound, and now they've also been heavily stylized in, you know, modern progressive metal as a very genre specific sound using a specific type of gate. And then if you think about it in the guitar tone and guitar gear world, gates have been used for many things, but if we're talking about progressive metal, you know, there are gates specifically designed for those purposes. You know, like Precision Drive has a gate that's built in and optimized for that kind of thing. You know, there's the 14 gates as well that are optimized for that kind of thing. But yeah, basically I've never really found a use for them until now, because I've been sort of working on my pedal board and I stack gains and fuzzes together into my Kraken. So I have these really colossal fuzzy overdriven tones, which are awesome, but sometimes it can be a little bit of a nuisance with all the sound in the background, especially if I'm wanting to like ring things out. And I was on the phone the other day to a mate of mine called Luke, Luke Hilton, who is actually the founder of Stone Deaf Effects, and we were having a chat just generally about everything that's going on at the minute and, you know, just catching up. And he was asking me about if I'm into those kind of tones and do I ever use those kind of tones. I said, well, yeah, in Tosca, you know, I do. You know, I stack fuzzes and all sorts of stuff together. And he said, how do you get around things like high frequency oscillation? Of course, I was like, I don't know what that is. And he was like, well, basically in your effects loop and in front of your amp, if you're stacking gains and stuff, you're going to get like ground hoops, you're going to get loads of noise basically oscillating between your effects loop and your preamp and stuff because of all the sounds you've got going on with delay and reverb and all the rest of it. I said, well, yeah, that's what happens. He said, well, tell you what, why don't you try this? I think this would be cool. And also it would be really cool to show your audience this cool technique. I don't know if you've ever tried it. I said, okay, cool. So he sent over 2 of the Noise Reaper noise gates from Stone Deaf and the new PDF 1X distortion pedal, which I've reviewed before. It's the same as that, but it's now the newer one with new artwork. And essentially what I'm going to show you is doubling up with 2 noise gates. So you could do this with any noise gates you've got, if you've got noise gates pedals, and you do this wiring technique that he showed me, which is called the double up. It's in the instruction manual actually of the gate for the Noise Reaper. And essentially what you do is you create this huge loop, this chain, whereby you place a gate in the effects loop of your amplifier, and then you also place it in front of your amplifier. So, but the whole thing's chained together. I'll put a little diagram on screen now that comes with the Noise Reaper gate so you can see what I mean. And I just followed that exactly as it shows in the instruction manual. However, I added the Keeley echoes to my chain so that I had some delay in the loop. And the idea and purpose behind this is that I can then run something like the PDF 1X or any of my fuzzes into my Kraken with all of that gain, and you'll be able to, you know, get rid of that sort of unwanted oscillation and noise sound from your rig, like all that fuzzy, hissy stuff. So I'm going to show you, and I've just been trying it out and it sounds really cool. So let's take a look. So you should be able to see the close-up now. I've got the 2 Noise Reapers sat on top of the amp and the Keeley echoes. And basically the Noise Reaper in the middle is the one connected to the effects loop, and the Noise Reaper on the right is the one that's basically placed in front of the amplifier. And the Noise Reaper in the effects loop is before the delay, so that I can actually get a nice clean repeat on my delays and not gate those. So that's how it's rigged up. And like I say, if you've got 2 noise gates or you don't and you want to try this, get 2 noise gates like the Noise Reaper and follow the picture in the instruction manual, and you'll be able to try this out. And I'm really, really impressed with how it works. So let me show you. Okay, so I've got my guitar. Just figured I'm just going to use my Relic because it's got a high output humbucker in it. I really, really want to slam this amplifier with tons of gain to show you exactly how this works and how beneficial it is. So in front, I've got the PDF-1X, and to be honest, I'm just gunning it. Basically, everything's running pretty hardcore in that. You can see on the close-up where the noise reapers are set just below halfway, and then the echoes is just a cool sound that I'd set up, and I'll mess around with that in a bit. The channel on the VX100 is the Gain 2 channel, so it's high gain, and I'm running the gain hot. It's over halfway as well, so just the whole thing is gainy. One thing to note is that I've deliberately rigged this up in a way that's just going to give me lots of noise. For example, using the Keeley Echoes, it's a digital pedal and it's powered digitally, but when you're running like multiple different pedals, lots of gain and from different power rings and stuff, you'll get the digital noise, and it's horrible. I've had to deal with that at gigs before, and it's just terrible. So I want to show you the dramatic effect that happens when you use specifically a noise gate in the effects loop. So check this out. This is just the amp with the pedal on, PDF-1X, no noise gates put in, and you'll hear how horrible this sounds. So as you can hear, that sounded absolutely disgusting, and you can currently hear a ton of ground hum right now. That's just the amp. That's just with no gates on, gain 2. The way it's rigged up, as I said, it's definitely not happy. And then with the volume up, it's just horrible. It's horrible. And if I throw the PDF-1X on, imagine trying to use that sound with reverb and delay as well. Like, I do those kind of sounds in Tosca, and it's a nightmare. If you stop playing, then you get all the horrible sounds. You won't get it quite as bad with the digital sound, but you'll get all the hiss. But if you listen now, it's complete silence because I'm using the noise reaper in the effects loop. So what I'm going to do now before I start stacking gain pedals is I'm just going to show you how it will affect your amp in a high gain mode in the effects loop if you're running dirty power somewhere. So I'll dial it in so you can hear how much of an effect it has. So just above 9 o'clock, it's complete silence at this point. Now you can hear there's a slight hiss, airy hiss at the end. That's because the gate in the front isn't active yet. So if I turn that on, roll it all the way out, bring it in. Let's put it to the same spot. Let's put it to the same spot that it was at on the other gate. So you can hear how both gates just above 9 o'clock, around 10 o'clock, totally clean up the sound of this amp just straight in if I'm running dirty power, which I've tried to simulate. Now introduce a pedal like the PDF-1X on top. So this is what we've got without. Bring this in now. Like I said, full gain, full balls to the wall. So you can hear that power ring starting to really trying to get through. But what happens is if I turn up the front of the amp gate, so now it's at just about 12 o'clock. I mean, that is a colossal sound and so clean. My volume's all the way up. So if I start doing those kind of pick rates and stuff, we might need to drop it down a touch. But it's a case of, it's a balancing act. That's what I've been discovering before filming this video. It's just a balancing act. So I've turned them both down a tiny bit. So we're starting to get back that sound. So if I turn the front up, back off the one in the loop a little bit. So you can clearly hear, using 2 gates, one in the loop, one in the front, when you stack in gain, it's just insane. It really works. It really does. You know, you get it right. You have to just quickly tweak, just depending on the sound that you've got. But once you get it there, it just works, and it sounds great. I mean, I'm getting all of the sustain that I need. I'm getting all of the definition and obviously all of the gain, and it's tight and it works. Now that's an application that I would personally use a gate in, rather than using it in just a high gain tone to tighten things up. I would put it straight over something like this to allow me to have these colossal sounds with the cleanliness of the signal afterwards. And on top of that, if you, like I said, if you put it first in the loop and then add a delay, so that the echoes, we have hear how clean that repeat is. It just sounds awesome. There's no hiss, no nothing. You get a really clean, nice repeat from the delay with all of that gain. So it's really, really useful. I mean, I'm really amazed that it works that well. And, you know, I would never have thought to do that. I definitely think that's a pedal tinkerer's kind of discovery. You can tell it's hot in here today because there's so many, it's really sunny and it's warm up here. But yeah, that's basically a really cool approach to using 2 noise gates in a completely different context to how I would expect to use them, and also away from the sort of modern progressive metal approach as well. So like I say, stoner rock, doom, any sort of dark, heavy, gain-laden metal or rock or whatever, this is a really cool approach. So I'd like to know what you think. I'd like to know if you think that's useful. Let me know in the comment section below. I will link the PDF 1X. I will link the Noise Reaper gates because they're really affordable and they sound great. They work really well, and they come with that wiring instructions in there, so that's cool. So I'll link everything in there, but let me know what you think. Like, subscribe and share, and I'll see you all very soon.